Hi, it's Paula Kensington here. And what's on my mind right now is obviously sustainability and what does that mean for us as finance leaders and finance professionals, no matter where we're working, whether we're working in reporting entities or non-reporting entities. This is now front and center for all of us. And I've been specifically looking at what's coming out of the UK in A4S, Accounting for Sustainability, and they have put together a task force of about 8 different businesses to try and answer some of the challenging questions that are right in front of CFOs now. And those questions are how do we embed zero targets and climate change adaptation strategies into our financial planning? How do we get FP&A teams and sustainability teams talking to each other and working together? And then how do we embed sustainability in the core of our decision making? And these are real challenges that are right in front of CFOs the world over. So I wonder whether here in Australia, in the Asia Pacific, whether we can have our own task force. And I'm going to set up some meetings over the next 3 months to just unpack some of those challenging questions, but thinking about maybe some responses to that is, how detailed are our financial plans anyway? I've just been putting together an 8-year plan for future value and, a significant detail and around revenue and prospects and, how do we think the timing of that is going to work out? What then do we need in terms of resources to be able to deliver on those revenue targets, and then what's our profit and then what's our nature adjusted profit. So I've been introducing this new measure that says how much are we actually going to pay back to nature in terms of a debt back to nature. And so I'm hoping that that's going to be something that I can share more with you about. But looking at the understanding of those short, medium, and long-term plans in as much detail as we can, because if we're disrupting our business models, we've got to unpack what that looks like from, a reduced or a different kind of revenue, a reduced or an increased cost. What does all of that look like? And I don't know that a lot of finance teams have gone to that level of detail to be able to understand and answer those questions. And then secondly, I think a response is how do I identify the sustainability and climate related risks and opportunities? And so those are the questions. Now, A4S has got a great little asset there that you can download for free, and it's about some of the questions that you can ask as a finance team. I've built up my own bank of questions, 128 of them to be precise, to try and get to not just compliance, but beyond compliance. And I'll get to that in a minute. But how do we get to understand what some of those risks and opportunities are in our business? And then we have to do the climate scenario analysis where we have to take 2 different climate scenarios. So, a low climate risk of 1.5 degrees, potentially a high climate risk at 3 degrees. Arguably, you might even go further than that because the science is pointing that way. But, how do we think about managing those risks given those 2 scenarios? And is your finance team ready to kind of have those conversations? And then once we've done that modeling, we can then see what the funding gaps might be that we then have to create a strategy to be able to raise new funds potentially, or even renew existing facilities. How are we going to manage that? And again, as my role in Future Value as CFO, we've just come back off a 5-day strategy session where we've actually been very bold and decided that over the next 8 years, we need to be looking at a facility of about $700-800 million to be able to fund the work that we want to do. So, it's about having the sight of that now, not knowing where that's coming from, but being able to actually work on that now. And then how do we think about our capital regeneration policies? And our capital allocation as well. Like, how many of us actually have an allocation policy that says these are the things we want to invest in? This is the type of impact that we want. Even if we're a for-profit, commercial business, we need to be having these values front and center. And I want to share with you what I have been working on over the last 3 or so months around our authentic sustainability measure. And I've just taken a screenshot of it here. So hopefully you can see that now. around how do I think and how does Future Value think about getting to beyond net zero? And this is all of my rhetoric. I don't want to just get to net zero. Net zero is not going to save the world. We're not going to build a resilient future by just getting to net zero. We need to get beyond that. We need to be aiming for that authentic sustainability, regeneration, if you like, of leaving the planet and resources, richer than what we found them. So that's a way that I'm thinking about how do we get to compliance, which is the mandated reporting, but how do we get beyond that at the same time? It's taken us 30 years to get the first accounting sustainability standard. We can't wait another 30 years to get to, beyond that. And, so I'm suggesting to finance leaders, yes, we need to get to compliance, but we can then quickly move on to optimization, which is actually about embedding sustainability at the core of our decision making. So it's exactly what this task force is looking at over in the UK. So I am setting up a series of virtual discussion groups where CFOs are coming together to talk about the challenges, talk about, what's really front and center for us right now and how do we help each other? How do we gain insights from each other? We know that these are the global issues on the left-hand side here. We know we've got a compliance issue. We know that we've got funding issues where we actually have to embed ESG into our information into our reporting because the financial markets are stricter around what lending to the criteria around lending has got stricter because of ESG standards. And then we've got a data problem. So this was one of the biggest challenges that in a recent survey came up. Where is the data coming from? How do we know what to look for? How do we measure that? How do we understand what it's telling us? And how do we think about the trusting of that data source and the integrity of it and the transparency of it? So, leaving us to think, well, where do we start? Again, this is what I'm building the model on around these questions, 128 questions that are going to help us think about where are the challenges for my business. And then the resource issue, like how many of us have got the capability within our teams to do this work? And there's not many organizations out there that's got the ability to do the training. We can't just keep outsourcing to financial consultants that are going to come and help us do this work. We need to embed and train our own people. So these are the challenges that are on my mind and I'm sure on your mind. And as I said, I am setting up a series of 3 online workshops across the world, and hopefully I'll do them in 3 different time zones so that we can try and hear from lots of different CFOs and finance leaders. So if you're keen to join us, I would love to have your voice. Please reach out to me. If you don't see my invites, then please reach out and I would gladly send you the details. But watch out for me on my channels, on CFO Conversations, and also on Future Value ASM, which is Authentic Sustainability Measurement. Okay, all right, that's it for now, and I hope to see you soon online. Bye.